What's up? So today I wanted to make a little video about how we built our dirt bike storage platform on top of this little storage closet that we have inside of our shop, and rigged up this electric hoist to one of our rafters to hold our dirt bikes, and built a lifting apparatus to connect to them. It's been working pretty good for us so far. It's not too bad. It's a little bit of a hassle to hook it up and get everything organized up there, but it's better than having to pay for a storage unit for all of them since we all live in apartments. But yeah, like I said, it's been working pretty well for us so far. Gives us a little bit of storage, keep some of our gear up there too, and it's not too bad. But yeah, we'll just get right into it. I started thinking that was kind of a little bit of wasted real estate up there, and me and one of the other guys have been looking for a good place to keep our dirt bikes, and I got a Grom up there too, and I hated to put it on the floor anywhere in here and put it in the way of getting work done, but we had this office that we built a couple of years ago just to use as like I call it an office, but it's really just more of like a storage closet. We just got our air compressor in there, a couple other things for work in there. But I started thinking this thing was plenty strong enough to put something up on top. And we had a bunch of extra 2x10s from mirror crates. The stuff that they put on the top and bottom of the mirror crates. We always save those. So we decided to deck the top of it and added a little bit of bracing in here. Don't know for sure if it needed it, but just wanted to be sure. So I just scotched a 2x4 right there and scotched one of our spare 2x10s back there, because this is pretty much just constructed. These are curtain wall mullions for, curtain wall window systems all the way around. And it's all just kind of stacked on top of each other. But we had this one SSG mullion that kind of spanned. That's the only thing besides that one in the back and the one in the front. And this was bowing a little bit when I added the last dirt bike, so I cut this like 1/4 of an inch long when it was bowed down and beat it in there with a hammer. I cut that like 1/16 long and beat it in, so I know that's taking some weight and this is taking some weight. And I mean, it's not like dirt bikes are really heavy anyway. I mean, these curtain wall mullions are designed to span up, high rises, so it holds a lot of weight in glass. So I mean, there's two 500s up there, a 110 and a Grom, and I mean, average all those, or the 500s, I don't know, call them 260 pounds, and the Grom is something like 220. That 110 is like 160 pounds. It's not an extraordinary amount of weight up there. It's fine, but the way that we're getting them up there is that electric hoist that we bolted into that rafter with 2 big bolts and washers. And our original plan was to do unistrut all the way across, running perpendicular like this. And then we were going to buy some of those unistrut trolleys so we could slide the trolley over, hook it up, pick it up, push it out here, and then drop it down. But trying to do it as cheap as possible like usual. And I started looking, and that rafter looked like it was right in line where we could probably just hook them up right here, pick it up, swing it over, and drop it down onto there. And that's exactly what we've been doing, and it works pretty good. I just like to open this door when we do it. That way the pegs aren't trying to swing and hit that piece of glass, because I don't want to bust that door light if we don't have to. But I'm about to move my 500 out of the way and get my Grom down and do a tire change. I figured I'd just record the process so everyone can see what this looks like and potentially build something of their own. So this is what it looks like up here. I can't remember the exact dimensions. I think it's like 16 by 10. I can't remember for sure. It's not that big, but it's just enough that it works. We got, like I said, 2 500 EXCs, a Grom, and a KLX 110L. And technically you could fit more stuff up here, but maneuvering them around to get them, because they have to be right here to take them off right on the edge. And it's kind of tight the way that it is with just these. Like, if you wanted to get this bike out and not the other ones, you don't really have a way to do it. You pretty much have to take them down and onto the ground and roll them away to get so. But fortunately, we pretty much all only ride together, so, or just me and my cousin. So usually we're getting both of them down, so we're getting them all down together anyway. I ride by myself sometimes, that's why I keep mine in the very front. But today I need the Grom down. So I'm gonna have to get my bike down and then the Grom, but I need to take mine and get it washed anyway because it's still muddy from our last ride. But it works out well because we have this horizontal support that actually gives us a good spot to set all of our, like we got fork oil and a fork seal driver. I'm gonna hang my tire change stand up on there when I'm done, but the reason I'm getting them down is to put those tires on the Grom because I want to have knobbies on this thing. Even though these street tires are actually doing surprisingly good off-road, I'm kind of worried about getting a cut from a sharp rock or something riding this thing on trails, because I bought this thing to turn it into a little bit of an off-road pit bike. I'm going to put some heavier fork springs in it and put the knobby tires on it, and we'll see where we go from there. Maybe put some dirt bike handlebars on it, but I ultimately want to make this thing a little bit kind of like a pit bike, basically, just like a little street legal dirt bike. So I'm going to be working on this thing periodically, but I'm about to show you how we do this. We've got the hoist right here. I keep it in the 2-to-1 setting. It's a 220 pound load straight or a 440 pound in the 2-to-1. So since these bikes weigh, like I said, 260-ish, I keep it in the 440 rating, 2-to-1. That way we know we got plenty of strength. And we use this big I-shaped piece of 2x4. I'll show it more in depth when I get it down, but the narrow part goes over the handlebars, and then the wider part straddles down to the swing arms, and it has those straps we loop around, pick it up. I'll show you in just a minute. I just wanted to show what it looks like up here. It's strong though. There's no movement at all. You can jump or run and stop, nothing shakes. It's solid up here. But like I said, not a whole lot of room to add any more if we got any more bikes, but it works for this. Definitely looks crazy seeing a full-size bike right up there against the ceiling. This is like a 17-foot ceiling in here, I think. I measured it when we checked because it's got a 20. That hoist has a 20-foot cable on it. I wanted to make sure it'd be long enough to shoot down, and I can't remember. It was 16 or 17 feet from floor to ceiling, so it's got plenty of length, plenty of strength. Everything is rigged. The bike weighs about 250, 260-ish, and I tried to make every point. Like every one of these straps is rated for 440, I think. The carabiner's rated for, I think the carabiner's the weakest link. I think the carabiners that connect the straps to that 2x4 were rated for like 360 each. So the whole bike weighs 250. Each carabiner is rated for 360, and there's 4 of them. So it's definitely plenty strong. Everything is. I'm about to bring it down, and we'll go over it a little bit more in depth. But it's dependable. We really need to build a little handrail around this, because that's the only problem is when you're walking up there and it's all full of bikes and you're trying to move them around. I'm always a little bit worried of either knocking one off or accidentally stepping off, and especially when you lift it off, because you got to roll it right up to the edge and then hook that thing up and then pick it up and it swings out. I'm always worried about, getting drug off with it. But like I said, works pretty well. Gives us free spot to store everything that doesn't impede our work area in here. But yeah, I'll bring it down right now and then we'll look at it a little bit more in depth. Alright, so on the ground now, you can see, not too bad. You just have to push on that cable to make sure it's not dragging a handlebar or peg down the side of this thing as it comes down. But fortunately, since it's 2-to-1, this one isn't moving and this one is, since it's, can't really explain it. You'd have to just see it, I guess, or imagine it correctly in your head. But basically what we do, I did 6 bolts with big washers behind them all the way through into screws. These little anchors came from Walmart. These were all rated for, I can't remember, 4 something, I think, each. And then the carabiner, like I said, is I think a 360 pound. And then this one, these straps are I think 440 pound rating. I will say, every one of these things said not recommended for use for suspended overhead loads, which is exactly what we're using this for. But I feel like we went overkill enough on all the components. I don't think anything's getting stressed that hard. But we go from this, there's no hooks. Everything is secured. I got a loop and then a carabiner that goes through the loops on the hooks. I tried going through the loops and the straps, but these carabiners were so sharp, it kind of started to fray some of the ends, and I thought, oh, that's probably not good. So I leave these long enough that we can go down, around the swing arm, back up and hook in, and then I just tied the slack out, so because I know the length is right. It works for everything. These just stay in a loop all the time. You wouldn't even need to use a strap for this if you could just have some type of loop. Like you wouldn't have to use a tie-down strap. If you just had a strap that was just a set length, you could leave it as a loop all the time and just hook it over the ends if you don't have bark busters. And then this is obviously just a piece of unistrut that we had laying around. I used big bolts for this one with washers and lock washers underneath it just because that's what we had. And then I just cut this section out with my bandsaw so that we can get this hook in there. It's plenty strong. It doesn't bow at all. This is the heavier duty unistrut, the 12 gauge, I think, but you can't bend it at all. I've got no doubt about any of this. We've used it a bunch of times already with no issues. I did the 2x4s that go perpendicular on top of this other one because I didn't want them hanging with just the screws holding them, you know, the other way around. So the weight of the bike sits on top of this one on both sides. This is sitting on top, the screws just hold it on top. If it was the other way around, this 2x4 would be suspended by the screws and it could potentially rip apart. I don't really think it would. I don't think a dirt bike is heavy enough to do that, but better safe than sorry. Also could use bolts here and that would make it safer, but since it's sitting on top, I think number 14 screws are sufficient. But yeah, it's working pretty well. This could be used in, you know, a garage. If you just had one bike in a garage, you could attach that to your ceiling. You could just lift it up and leave it suspended and then park a car underneath it. You might want to change this design a little bit if it was going to be hanging from it all the time. I would use metal to build this instead of wood, but I don't really doubt the strength of this. I personally think it was fine, or would be fine for any application like that, besides picking up like a road bike. If you're picking up like a 700-pound bike, it would be a different story. But this hoist was, I think, 70 something bucks on Amazon. We bought the absolute cheapest one they had, just trying to not put too much money into this. But like I said, it works good. 220-pound rating with it pulling 1-to-1, or 440 pulling 2-to-1, and it came with the little snatch block piece. One thing to look out for is make sure that they give you a remote that's actually long enough to reach where your ground is going to be if you're picking it up this high, because a lot of these have like a 20-foot cable, but then the remote is only on a 3-foot or 6-foot remote cable. So I mean, 6 foot would probably work for standing up there. You might have to kind of hold it up, but it definitely, you got to be able to get on the ground on the way that we're using it. So that's something to watch out for if you're ordering one of these. You don't want it to show up and you find out you have to be up there with the hoist in order to operate it.